I never thought this would happen to me. One moment, I was living my dream life, happy in my marriage, successful in my career, and surrounded by friends who truly cared. Everything felt perfect. But then, one evening, I stumbled across something I never expected. My husband, the man I thought I knew inside and out, was marrying someone else, right under my nose. It was the kind of betrayal that cuts deep, and it hit me harder than I could ever imagine. I didn't know what to do. My world, everything I had built, was crumbling around me. But what I did next, how I reacted to this unimaginable betrayal, will leave you speechless. You see, I didn't let it break me. Instead, I did something most people wouldn't even dare. What happened after will make you question everything you think you know about revenge, redemption, and finding strength in the most unexpected ways. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. My name is Olivia Carter, and I'm a 39-year-old entrepreneur living just outside Boston. I've built a thriving business, a beautiful home, and a life that many would envy with my husband, Daniel. Together, we were the perfect couple, successful, happy, the kind of people you look at and think, they have it all. Our marriage was the centerpiece of that perfect life. Daniel was my rock, the man who supported me in every venture, every challenge, and we had everything we could have ever dreamed of. But if you've ever felt like things were too good to be true, you know the feeling that something might be just a little off, even if you don't want to admit it. I was living the dream, successful, independent, and married to a man I thought I could trust with every part of me. We shared laughter, travel, quiet nights at home, and big dreams for the future. I thought I knew him better than anyone, better than I knew myself, but sometimes the cracks don't show until it's too late. There were whispers, small, almost insignificant things that started to catch my attention. My friends, those who knew Daniel almost as well as I did, started to notice it too. His behavior shifted. Little things, like how he started coming home later than usual, his phone never left his side, and those long weekends away that didn't quite make sense anymore. They were small signs, easy to brush off as nothing. But deep down, something was nagging at me, something I couldn't shake off. I tried to ignore it, to trust the man I loved, but I couldn't help but wonder, was I just being paranoid? I didn't want to see the truth, but deep down I knew something was wrong. I kept telling myself that every relationship goes through phases, that maybe he was just stressed with work, maybe he just needed space. But as time passed, those small things added up, and one night everything would change. Everything I worked for, everything I thought I knew about my marriage, was about to come crashing down. I had built a life, a business, and a future with Daniel, and suddenly it felt like everything was slipping away. I wanted to ignore the signs, to pretend I hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary. But the truth was staring me in the face, and I could feel it, the quiet weight of betrayal. This isn't just a story about infidelity or heartbreak. It's about losing everything I had worked so hard to build. The life I thought I knew, the person I thought I loved, all of it, shattered in an instant. And the worst part? I didn't know what I was going to do next. Was I ready to face the truth, or was I too afraid of what that truth would mean? It started with a text message from Daniel. A simple message, really. He said he'd be in New York for a business trip, nothing out of the ordinary. I read it, nodded to myself, and went about my day. He had business trips all the time, it was just part of his work. But there was something about it that didn't sit right with me. Maybe it was the suddenness of it, or how he hadn't mentioned anything earlier that week. Maybe I was just overthinking it. Either way, I pushed it aside, told myself I was being paranoid, but then the small clues started piling up. Little things. The phone calls that seemed too brief, the odd texts where he was too busy to talk or in meetings all day. He stopped leaving his phone on the kitchen counter, where he used to. I started finding it hidden in his coat pocket, screen down, as if he was guarding it. And then there were the unexplained absences, weekends where he'd leave for work, but would come home late, looking exhausted, distant, like he was somewhere else. I tried to ignore it, really, I did. But something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew I wasn't imagining things. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I trusted him. Well, I thought I did. He was my husband, after all. We'd built a life together, a future I believed in. But something was changing, something I couldn't explain. My mind was racing, filled with doubts and questions I didn't want to face. Should I confront him? Would he lie to my face? Would I even be able to trust him again if I found out the truth? These thoughts swirled inside me, and I felt myself growing colder with each passing day. Then came the turning point. I'll never forget the moment when my best friend, Rachel, called me in tears. I could hear the panic in her voice as she told me what she'd seen. She was at a wedding in Providence, helping with the decorations for a venue, and there, standing at the altar, was Daniel. But the bride wasn't me. The woman in the white dress, she wasn't me. I froze. My heart stopped for a moment as I tried to process her words. "No, Rachel, that doesn't make sense," I said, my voice shaking. But she swore to me. She'd seen him there. Daniel, in a navy tux, standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. I thought I'd heard wrong. I had to. But Rachel confirmed it. Her voice was trembling when she said, "Olivia, I swear on my life it was him." And that's when everything changed. The world felt like it had just been ripped from under me. Was this a mistake? Was I misinterpreting something? How could this be real? My head was spinning. I had to know more, but the truth was becoming more terrifying by the second. Was Daniel really marrying someone else? And if so, why? What was he after? I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just about love anymore. It couldn't be. There was something more going on here, something bigger than just a broken marriage. The man I thought I knew so well was hiding something much darker, something I hadn't even begun to understand. And as I sat there staring at my phone, I knew I had to find out exactly what Daniel was doing and why he was doing it. What was he really after? As Rachel described the wedding venue in perfect detail, I felt the ground shift beneath me. She spoke about the flowers, the guests, the music, and then she said something that sent a chill down my spine. "The groom is Daniel." My breath caught in my throat. I tried to process it, but the words felt like a slap. Daniel wasn't just lying about his trip. He was marrying another woman. My heart sank as I thought about the years I'd spent with him, the promises we made, and how easily they seemed to slip away. All those late-night talks about our future, the vacations we took, the home we built. Was it all a lie? How could I have been so blind? The man I thought I knew, the man I trusted with my life, was standing at an altar, promising forever to someone else. And then the weight of the situation hit me. Rachel said the groom was wearing a navy tux, looking sharp, but it was the way she described him that stung. She said he was standing there, smiling like nothing was wrong, as if he hadn't betrayed me in the worst way. Was he doing this for love, or was there something else? My mind raced. Was this about money? Was he trying to steal from me, take everything I had worked for? Was this part of a bigger plan, one I couldn't even begin to fathom? It all seemed impossible. But as the pieces began to fall into place, I realized the truth was darker than I could have ever imagined. If this part is making sense, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who's really watching to this point. I wasn't just betrayed emotionally. The more I thought about it, the more I realized. Daniel's marriage wasn't about love. It was a calculated move, a plan to get access to my wealth, my assets, everything I had worked so hard for. And I wasn't about to let that happen, not without a fight. This wasn't just about confronting him and screaming my anger into the void. It was about taking control of my life, of everything I had built. I had put in the work, the hours, the sacrifices. I wasn't going to let him take it from me. Not without understanding exactly what he was trying to do and why. But the more I thought about it, the more questions surfaced. Was Daniel truly the villain in all of this? Or had I been blind to the cracks in our relationship all along? Was this all a result of something I had missed? Or had I simply turned a blind eye to things I didn't want to see? And then came the chilling thought. What I didn't know was who was helping him with this scheme. There had to be someone else involved, someone pulling strings behind the scenes. I had to figure out who was standing with him, who was aiding in this betrayal. The stakes were higher than ever. How would I take control back? How could I make sure Daniel didn't get away with this without playing into his hands? How would this end? Instead of a public confrontation, I decided to take a different approach. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me fall apart. I gathered all the evidence, secured my assets, and made sure Daniel wouldn't get a cent. Everything I had worked for, everything I had built, was protected. When he came home, expecting everything to be as it always had been, he found nothing was the same. The house, the life we shared, had shifted in ways he couldn't understand. He was about to find out that I wasn't the woman he thought I was. When Daniel realized I'd outsmarted him, his face said it all. The confusion, the panic, it was all there, as if the world he had so carefully constructed had come crashing down in a single moment. But instead of confronting him, instead of feeding into his game, I let him feel the full weight of his own betrayal. He had taken me for granted, and now he was going to learn what it felt like. I didn't need revenge, I just needed control. And I had it. I wasn't the broken woman I once was. I was stronger, more empowered, and in control of my own destiny. But as I walked away from the chaos he had caused, one question lingered in my mind. Was justice served? Or did Daniel get away with it all? If this story hit you like it did us, hit that like button. It helps us reach more people. And subscribe if you want more gripping stories every week.